I mentioned in my previous video that the story in Legacy of the Void had its share of issues. Well, now that I've been nice to the game, it's time to let the hatred flow through me. When you start the campaign, not 2 minutes pass before every Protoss you meet starts going on about how awesome the Kala is, and how they sure are glad to have this easily exploitable brain internet that their whole society is founded upon.
May the Kala guide our blades!
And then in the very next mission, oh no, the Kala's making us evil! It feels like the hugest ass pull. They need some way to take away the Golden Armada, so they just make up some massive, obvious weakness and then immediately use it to take a dump on the whole Protoss race. The problem is that there's no foreshadowing about this. Every time we've seen Amon up until now, he's just had Zerg and Hybrid, and suddenly, oh yeah, he can mind control all the Protoss now too. And apparently humans, because at that point, why not? He's probably responsible for the exploding creeps too. This wouldn't be such a problem if the Kala weren't central to the entire conflict. I'm not sure if the Kala's really even come up in the original StarCraft, but even if it has, it's been 16 years since Brood War came out. You can't expect the audience to remember something that was mentioned in passing 16 years ago unless you're riding the wheel of time. But Syfro! You roar to the sky. They had no choice but to rush it. They needed to get into the main plot quickly, so they couldn't have spent too long setting up the backstory of the Kala. A cunning observation, esteemed viewer, to which I say, they had a prologue! They made a free mission prologue in which nothing happened. The first mission has warping Terrans, which never comes up again, the second is just a planet full of farts, and the third one tells us shit we already know. Why not have the prologue be about, Zeratul discovering that the Kala could be exploited? That actually gives him something to warn Artanis about, rather than just going, hey guys, you know that Amon business? Yeah, that's still a thing. After the Protoss get, Amon on the brain, Zeratul has to fight Artanis to get all the evil juice out of him. This leads to one of the coolest cutscenes in the game, and probably the best hero moment in all of StarCraft.
I will shatter this corrupt cycle. You shall not stand against me. My life for ire.
This is only slightly undermined by the fact that it makes no goddamn sense. And I'm not talking about it from a gameplay perspective. I don't care that Artanis isn't a detector and Zeratul should always be invisible. I'm saying at this point, it doesn't make sense from a narrative perspective. Up to this point, our only actual connection to the Protoss has been through Zeratul. On occasion, some other dude pops along and gets infested or something, but Zeratul is the only Protoss character that we are made to care about at all over the past 5 years. We've seen him in action, we know what he stands for, he's a cool guy. He's the only sympathetic Protoss character that's been presented in all of StarCraft 2. And 2 missions into the campaign, Artanis hasn't had enough time to win the audience's favour. So when Zeratul dies, I wasn't so much scared of Amon for being so powerful. I was just pissed off at Artanis for killing Zeratul, which meant that I went through the rest of the Protoss campaign not liking anybody. As for the fight itself, when you kill off the main character, you generally want to give the viewer some idea of the skill levels of the people involved. Now, we haven't seen Artanis in action for a long time, not counting the comics. So going into this fight, Artanis is basically an unknown quantity. In comparison, we've seen Zeratul take out tons of dudes on his own. We've seen him sucker punch the Queen of Blades. Zeratul doesn't even need to win the fight, he has to just chop the guy's dreadlocks off. And Artanis can't even hold off a couple of Zerglings.
And Zeratul is invisible!
So after everyone goes evil and Zeratul dies, Artanis is stuck basically on his own. He finds Carax and assembles a ragtag group of Protoss and has to break through the blockade set up by the Golden Armada. However will he pull this off? Oh, with literally the largest starship in the universe. And an infinite army. After Zeratul dies, literally everything the characters do goes to plan. And while the characters are certainly challenged on occasion, nothing ever goes wrong for them. They make no mistakes, they don't have to deal with any failure, they just keep winning and winning and winning, and it gets really boring. Dare they revive these robot dudes who hate the Protoss for what they did to them? Oh, okay, they're totally fine if Artanis just says that they're cool now. Maybe this entire planet full of Zerg might be a problem? No? Okay. You even have a guy on board with glowing red eyes who won't shut up about how much he loves enslaving people and kicking puppies. And he never even has the decency to betray you. Now, I understand that giving the characters a hard time like this can be difficult given that the player is in charge and they're basically playing StarCraft to win. So how do you let the player win but also dick over the characters to make it an interesting story? Simple. Let them win, but make it a Pyrrhic victory. Let the player win, but make the characters pay for it, to bleed for that victory. In fact, Blizzard has already done that in StarCraft 1. At one point you have to beat up some Protoss so your pet Zerg can keep overrunning a planet. So you do that. The player wins, but then the Zerg overrun, a little bit too much, and all the people that you have down there get eaten, including Sarah Kerrigan, who's a huge character in the story. It throws a twist into the story and actually sets up stakes that you care about. After that, you actively hate Arcturus Mengsk because he screwed you over. You're engaged with the characters. After that, Jim Raynor becomes a much more immersive character because you shared that moment with him. Whereas here, well, Zeratul's death kinda qualifies for this, but, well, A, I've already covered why it's not so great, and B, it happens at the very start of the story, so it lacks the punch it could have had it occurred later on. There's one point where you return to Aya, and then all the lights go out, so everything goes evil, and Amon says, "You suck!" And I thought, yes! Finally, something's gonna go wrong! But no, it just serves as another chance for Artanis to grandstand some more. I can't. I just don't have the energy. It's just bad, okay? Look, the game itself is really good. The missions mix things up a lot, and the variety of units you get to play with has never been cooler. But the story plays second fiddle to the gameplay. It does what it needs to close the story out, and no more. And then the epilogue takes the storyline out behind a shed with a loaded 12 gauge. I just think that it's a shame. They had this awesome setting here to play out the finale to their grand space opera. And then they just dawdle around. I know the story was never going to top Mass Effect, but come on guys, you could at least have challenged it on the ending.